In this module of Behind the Mission Loan, you will learn the 3 legs of the portfolio management stool, 3 important data points to track: deployment, delinquency, and default, tools to track metrics and review performance, and how to structure the portfolio quality review. Consider a 3-legged stool. Each leg is critical to the balance, strength, and overall performance of the stool. Now, consider portfolio management as a 3-legged stool, made up of data, tools, and structure. Gathering data allows you to understand even the smallest details of your portfolio. The tool or tools you use to manage that data will allow you to aggregate and study the data to understand the portfolio's performance. And the structure leg of the stool relates to your team. The teams of people who will meet weekly, monthly, or quarterly to determine what actions to take based on portfolio performance reports. As mission lenders, you have no shortage of data. It is what you do with the data that matters most. Consider your portfolio data is broken into the 3 Ds: deployment, delinquencies, and defaults.
To me, portfolio management is really being able to step back and look at what's really happening with your loan portfolio. For example, I look at new loans that are coming in to the portfolio. I look at loans that are currently in the portfolio and how well they are performing. And we're also looking at loans that aren't performing. And what does that look like in terms of reporting around those 3?
The data related to all deployed loans is a critical first step in portfolio monitoring. You may find some data points more meaningful than others, depending on your product and funding source mix, but all intermediaries should be tracking dollars closed for each product, loans closed for each product, total dollars closed, dollars dispersed, and dollars committed but not yet dispersed. The dollars committed but not yet dispersed is important when managing multiple funding sources to ensure sufficient dollars are available to fund all commitments.
We need to know what's the outstanding balance of each of the loans that you make. We need to know the repayment status of each of those loans. And the reporting frequency may differ slightly from one program to another, whether it's Community Advantage or Micro. But those updates have to be made by the reporting deadlines, and they have to be accurate. In fact, when we come in and do a site review, one of the critical things we're looking at from an oversight standpoint is that what's being reported to us is identical to what you have in your accounts. So the timeliness and the accuracy of those reports on your portfolio, the performance, the status, the balance, are all critical pieces to maintaining a good relationship with SBA.
The data related to delinquencies, including slow pays, must be tracked closely to maintain portfolio performance and to gain insight into your loan servicing activities. Your data should be grouped by days past due as a subset of the portfolio as a whole, by loan product, and within identified classes of risk, such as restructured and/or impaired loans. This data will support trend analyses for process improvement for 12-month rolling trends and 3-year historical trends.
Obviously, within that system, when you see an issue, when you see a delinquency, that's going to trigger some servicing action. But you're also constantly going to be monitoring at a more global scale the entire portfolio to see where am I? Are my problem loans 3% of my overall portfolio? Are they 8%? Where is this normally? Where should this be? What are we doing if we're seeing something that's outside the norm of where our portfolio performance should be? And what are those steps? What are those written guidelines that you should have in place for not just the monitoring of the portfolio, but what happens when certain things identify themselves within that portfolio monitoring? What steps are we going to take in order to try and alleviate excessive problems in our portfolio.
When the loan is past due, then we start looking at the portfolio and the different brackets. What are the 1 to 30, 30 to 60, and over 60? We actually focus mostly on the 31 to 60 to make sure that, have we make sure that they have been contacted, and if there is something that we might be able to offer assistance with. And then the over 60, we review what is the collateral, what is the security that we're using to know if we need to start sending any notification for intent to repossess, or if it is real estate as collateral, we need to make sure that we start the process according to our guidelines so that we're on track if the loan continues to be delinquent.
The data related to defaulted loans must be tracked closely to maintain portfolio performance. Your data should be grouped by loan product within identified classes of risk, such as restructured or impaired loans, and by portfolio as a whole. This data will support trend analyses for process improvement for 12-month rolling trends and 3-year historical trends.
Once there are very specific requirements for just how long a loan can go delinquent before SBA will require you to do a servicing action, a charge-off action. And that doesn't mean that you're charging a loan off of your books per se. It simply means that you're charging it off of SBA's books, that SBA is no longer going to count that loan as collateral if we have a collateral on that loan, or that's collateral against your repayment to SBA. But at a certain point, as an example, in the microloan program, once a microloan exceeds 120 days delinquency, it's a requirement that that microloan be charged off of SBA's books, and that the amount of that charge-off be replenished into the collateral bank accounts under that program. In Community Advantage, there are similar, very specific requirements in terms of the reporting of the status, as well as what those servicing actions are and when they have to occur in order to receive the guarantee that's been provided under that loan guarantee.
Effective tools for tracking metrics and analyzing portfolio performance should match your operational environment and organizational culture.
Portfolio management, you're going to have a system, you're going to have tools where you're going to monitor the status of each of the loans in your portfolio. You're going to be reviewing your entire portfolio as well as the individual loans that make up that portfolio.
Well, I have a very high-level dashboard for our lending process, and it's really more about what's going on in terms of loans that are in the pipeline, number of loans and dollars of loans. We also have a portion of the dashboard that really deals with I call it the process of loans in the servicing view, meaning loans that are current versus being a loan that's past due, and really breaking out that information in detail.
Maybe it's training and technical assistance. Maybe it's some business counseling. Maybe it's at a point where you have developed a plan with an individual borrower to refinance or to restructure the underlying loan because the current terms are no longer meeting the needs, but you feel like ultimately that loan will be fully repaid. But you need to have the tools and you need to have the process to do proper portfolio monitoring. In terms of portfolio management, what we're really looking for is just prudent lending standards. It's not something that we have a strict dictate, this is what you must do. But when we're reviewing an application from a lender that wants to participate in our programs, the portfolio monitoring is something that we'll take a close look at. And really what we're looking for is that they do have a set of written, what we feel like are prudent monitoring standards that they say that they're going to follow. And then, we'll, on a continuing basis, we're going to review their portfolio performance. If we see an increasing risk in that portfolio, then we might revisit with that lender to make sure that they are in fact following those policies, or that if perhaps changes could be made to those policies, to try and get that ball moving. When I think about portfolio monitoring, the first thing I think about is the people. The people are going to gather the data. The data is going to be input into a tool that will hold the data and supply the needed reports on the portfolio. The reports are then going to be used by the team that's going to service that portfolio in order to make sure that the proper portfolio monitoring is taking place and that the proper activities are taking place to maintain a strong portfolio.
Portfolio management involves looking at that portfolio on a regular basis, and you're assessing, any changes in risk. And you want to do that because as a CDFI, it's important for our funders that we're being prudent in managing that loan portfolio. And on the other hand, we want to fulfill our mission in helping our customers be successful.
We use two systems to monitor portfolio quality and performance: our customer relationship management system and our loan servicing software. Most of our staff and team members can access all the information about our borrowers in the CRM system. So in there, we track balances, day past due. We can track how many times people have had an NSF, and how many times they have been delinquent. We also produce all the reports in a daily basis if needed to for delinquency and any loans that are trending towards being a write-off. During the weekly portfolio quality review, it's a meeting with the collection and account resolution managers, the director of the department, and we have an analyst that also works for the department. So we review all the loans that are what we call slow pay. So slow pay is somebody that has just missed one payment, but they're not technically still delinquent. So we look at anywhere from 1 day to 10 days. So we make sure that we had the text reminders, emails that went out, and have we received a response, have the customer respond. Then we have a next bracket that we review, which is 10 to 20 days. We have a servicing guideline that indicates that at that point, somebody on the lending team needed to be the first person contacting the borrower. And we verified, or better say, the managers report to me if that has happened. And it hasn't happened, then we need to send a reminder that a phone call or a visit needs to be completed. 21 to 30 days is what we call a watch list. The loan is starting to move into a delinquency status. So at this point, we already have our collection managers and our analysts making sure that we send them the email reminders, that we send them texts, and that the customer has not been responsive. If a visit has not been completed, we make sure that we have somebody making a visit to the business before the 30 days pass through.
So we hold regular monthly portfolio quality review meetings, and we get all of the lending staff, the accounting staff, and the business coaches involved so that we're all talking about the customers. And if there's any issues, such as being past due or business, closing, that we are all on the same page in what steps do we need to take next. We do that on a regular basis.
The monthly quality review is only with the director of the department. This is an overview of the meetings that we have, that we hold every week. And at that point, we're looking at the aggregate data, we don't specifically look at by lending side. We're looking mostly at trends or by region. by loan program rather than the detailed analysis that we do and reviews that we do on a weekly basis. In a monthly basis, we're ready because we have more information. We're able to start identifying any trends, anything that we need to be concerned, made aware of, and make a plan of action for our team members for the following 30 days.
And through that process, if we've got, again, significant or substantive changes, we will actually make those adjustments to loan policy. And those will trickle themselves through, and it takes time for, of course, that to happen. But again, we're using the policies to really kind of get a sense of what's really happening at that loan basis. And hopefully through that process of a loan basis, if we need to make substantive changes to our policy, we're making those adjustments to policy as well.
Since we have a high concentration in some specific industries, it's important that we're always monitoring those industries. So we'll do specific industry concentration analysis on our portfolio. So for example, if you're a CDFI and you have a lot of restaurants in your portfolio, so you want to really be following the trends of the restaurants, and you want to understand, is there any commonalities that, number one, maybe some of the business owners could learn from each other, or if there is a change in the economic cycle and people are eating out less, how is that going to affect your customers? So that's an important component if you are heavy in one particular industry or another.
The data that I share with the board is a summary performance between where were we last quarter and this one in regards to delinquency, portfolio balance, portfolio risk, amount that has been written off, any recoveries, any trends that we have observed within the last 3 months by region, by loan program, or in general, anything that might be of what we call the risk and opportunities within the last 90 days and going forward the next 90 days, what is our plan of action?
Approaching portfolio management as a three-legged stool made up of data, tools, and structure will allow you to track and review the performance of your loan portfolio while mitigating risk and improving your loan repayment rate. For more best practices videos, visit the SBA Mission Lending Library. And remember, together, we're growing the economy one mission loan at a time.